going to be debunking some common myths surrounding endometriosis. So the first myth is that endometriosis just means you have a heavy or a painful period. Now, don't get me wrong, heavy and painful periods are a very common symptom of endometriosis, but that is not what endometriosis is. Endometriosis is defined as tissue similar to the lining of the uterus that grows outside of the uterus. This tissue can grow and spread. It can cause organs to become stuck together. It can affect the functioning of those organs, and in some cases, it can permanently damage those organs. The second myth we're going to talk about today is the myth that endometriosis is confined to the pelvic region or the reproductive system. Endometriosis is very commonly found in pelvic organs and in reproductive tract organs. However, endometriosis has been found in every major organ in the body. So when I talked about it growing and spreading, I'm talking about growing and spreading across different bodily systems. So your GI system, your urinary system. Think about it this way. If someone finds endometriosis in their diaphragm, in their appendix, would you call that a reproductive issue? If endometriosis was found in your bladder, in your bowel, in your rectum, is that a reproductive issue? Of course not. Those are not your reproductive organs. So we need to defeat this myth that endometriosis is simply just a women's reproductive issue. Again, there's a nuance there where women do experience lots of problems with their reproductive system when they have endometriosis. I also want to make the caveat that every person experiences endometriosis differently. So some people may have endometriosis that spreads on certain organs, and others have it on completely different organs. Unfortunately, there needs to be a lot more research done before we will have a better idea of why that happens and why endometriosis grows certain ways for certain people. The next myth we're going to talk about is the myth that endometriosis can be cured with a hysterectomy. Now, if you've been listening, then you already might know why this one's not true. But let's go back to the definition of endometriosis. It's when tissue similar to the lining of the uterus grows outside of the uterus. It is not the same as the uterus. So that's an important distinction, and that helps explain a little bit why a hysterectomy or removal of the uterus is not going to cure endometriosis. Also, in research studies for people who have had their uterus removed, endometriosis has still been found, which goes to show it is not a cure. Another important distinction to make is that a hysterectomy can be a cure for another condition called adenomyosis. I know that's a long word, and I know that's not what this video is about, but I did feel like that's important to bring up here. So these are three of the most common myths surrounding endometriosis. I hope that you found this video somewhat helpful and that you learned something today. As always, thanks so much for watching. Thank you for joining me on my journey to help spread awareness and education surrounding endometriosis and other women's health matters. This may go without saying, but endometriosis is severely under-researched. Women's health in general is severely under-researched. We need to advocate, we need to raise awareness, and we need to put pressure on our lawmakers, okay, on our politicians to be making women's health and debilitating, painful conditions, life-changing, life-altering conditions like endometriosis. They need to have more focus, more awareness, and more research. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I'll see you in the next one.